Welcome to Veg Networking Canada, where vegan and plant-based companies connect and collaborate. I am Sandra Nemoto, not the usual face that you see here. Justin Manning couldn't be with us today, but I am the other co-host here who is usually behind the scenes. So you get my face today. First, we want to honor and acknowledge that many of us are located on the unceded, i.e., stolen lands of many Indigenous peoples across Canada. And we're just so fortunate to be able to live and work on these lands. I think that's really important. And so, our special guest today is a passionate advocate for animal welfare and the planet, both locally and globally. She weaves compassion for non human animals and ethical and sustainable principles into training, mentorship, and community engagement. She is a Muslim and proud Pakistani, which informs her commitment to justice, equity, and collective liberation. And she is the operations manager at Studio 89, a nonprofit social enterprise and community hub in Mississauga, Ontario. She brings a values driven, community centered approach to leadership. Welcome our special guest today, Aryanna Alikhan.
Hi, Sandra, and everyone. Thank you so much for having me on today's show.
We're so, stoked to have you here. So we always start off by asking our guests what your vegan origin story is.
Yeah, of course. So I became vegan in 2016 when I moved to Canada from Pakistan. So I was born in Karachi, Pakistan, and I lived there till I was 16 years old. And throughout my time living there, I would always see that we follow this part of our religion, we follow this concept called halal, and it is a specific way on how animals are treated and how they're consumed. But what I was noticing throughout my life growing up, that due to there being lack of knowledge and lack of awareness on how animals are treated, essentially I saw a massive difference when I came to Canada and I was brought awareness to the concept of animal welfare and how animals are supposed to be treated. Now, when I became vegan, it was more initially because I was an environmental advocate. So I really wanted to, help with my eco anxiety. And the way I would do that was incorporating more plant-based meals into my life. And then I just started like learning and reading lots of books and really understanding the intersectionality between humans, like how my health is, and animals and the environment and how it's all connected. And then I really became aware of veganism. But initially, I thought, like, let's go full raw vegan. Let's not cook anything. And I was raw vegan. Like, I went straight from so I was pescatarian initially, so I would just eat fish. So I went from pescatarian straight into raw vegan, and I was raw vegan for 6 months. And then slowly I realized, oh, but there are lots of fun foods I can make that are cooked. So then that's kind of what I did, and I really got interested in like creating different recipes and imitating what I used to eat and saw how easy it was. And then I kind of fell in love with it, and I've been vegan ever since. And I've never had a point in my mind where I was like, oh, like I don't need to be vegan all the time. Because for me now, it's like if you want, if you're craving something, you can have that vegan alternative. And like the taste and texture, the way food science has developed, it's almost the same with the textures and flavors. So it's been really cool, and I've really enjoyed it.
Wow, what a journey. You are the first guest, I think, in the 5 years we've been operating who's mentioned halal. And I know that there's, what do you call it, like a perspective out there that halal is a more humane way of killing the animal. And so that's obviously better than conventional, but that's not actually true. I know activists like Joey Carbstrong in the UK have kind of debunked that. And so, but yeah, very interesting kind of the journey that you've gone through as you came to Canada. So, switching to business now, can you tell us, first of all, where Studio 89 is located, how it got started or who founded it, and then how you came into your role and kind of the day-to-day for you?
Yeah, of course. So Studio 89 is located in Mississauga, Ontario. It is, do I say the exact address? I don't know. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we don't know who's listening, so yeah.
Okay. So it's located in Mississauga, Ontario at 2520 and Eglinton Avenue West, Unit 1. It is right in front of our mini mall in our mini area called Erin Mills Town Center. And what's really cool about Studio D9, it's right under a building that looks like a boat. So it's very easy to catch. Studio D9, as an actual physical space, was founded in 2014. But the origin story of Studio D9 actually started as our parent organization called Youth Troopers for Global Awareness, which was founded in 2007 by a group of John Fraser Secondary School. So it's a high school in Mississauga, students who got together and was a lot of them are from marginalized communities from all around the world, and they were realizing that in their local community in Mississauga, no one was talking about the problems that were happening in the whole globe, right? And so they wanted to create a grassroots group where essentially they would use art as advocacy to talk about animal welfare, environmental injustices, environmental racism, and also human rights. And that's kind of what they did. They created a grassroots group and then slowly became a nonprofit organization. Then in 2014, they realized that they wanted a physical space. A physical third space was missing within our community for grassroots organizations, youth groups, youth-led clubs to just meet in a spot and, create social impact. And essentially, they put their minds to it with the founder. I would say there are lots of founders, but the one who's still around today, who is my true inspiration, is Zara Abbas. And she's kind of she's a powerhouse, that woman. But she kind of has molded Studio 89 into what it is today. And so she was the eldest in that youth group, and she has kind of just guided and mentored youth throughout the years, people before me, to help grow Studio D9 to where it is today, being this vegan, social advocacy, arts advocacy, all like it's a space for voices of all ages, all ethnicities, all religions. It is trying to be a space where we create change. And we do that by being a vegan space as well, where everything we sell is fair trade, organic, rainforest alliance certified, bird friendly coffee. Like we try to hit all the aspects to the best of our abilities. And one of the things we also do is we try to support small businesses, so small vegan bakeries or small like these seed paper cards, women who come up with these different concepts of sustainability, like we bring them into our space. We want to be that platform essentially. And so, yeah, so it's been a physical space since 2014, but initially we were not 100% vegan. But when our founder, Zara, became vegan, I believe in 2018 or 2017, something like that, she made the whole space vegan, like immediately overnight. And what was so amazing is a lot of the individuals who come into our space are not actually vegan, but they don't care because they're like, it's good food, it's good coffee, and wow, we're making an impact as well because every purchase is a donation towards the free community programs that we do at our nonprofit. And so they notice that like each thing is helping, like they're finally seeing that intersectionality between humans, animals, and the planet, and that is essentially what the organization is. So yeah, it's been amazing. And then how I my role came into it was, so I used to live in Vancouver actually. I went to the University of British Columbia and I studied geography with a specialization in environmental justice. And a lot of my professors, as well as a lot of the books that we read, were based on Indigenous histories and kind of how their relationship to the land is. And that's kind of also where I continued like wanting to be an environmental advocate and then slowly going into like animal welfare and then human rights and finding that connection. So I did all of that for 4 years and then I graduated and I decided to be a sustainability consultant for small businesses in Ontario because my house is here. So, Vancouver is very expensive. So I had to shift home. And what I was started creating these videos on Instagram talking about fair trade, veganism, how different environmental problems are connected to factory farming and everything like that. And Zara happened to get one of these videos. One of her friends had sent them to her, and she sent me a voice note saying, I want you, come to Studio 89 tomorrow. And so I like on a whim, I was like, okay, let's see what happens. So I went into the space, and the first thing I see when I walk in is this like big vegan sign. I was like, oh, I'm vegan. I didn't know there were vegan cafes in Mississauga. So I got so excited. And then when she started talking and explaining the type of programs that we do, like Rising Leaders for Climate Action and like vegan potlucks and all these different things, I got so excited. And then when she told me that, like, my role would be mentoring the future change makers and kind of guiding the youth of Mississauga on a journey to a more equitable world, that just kind of hooked into me. And I've been now at Studio 89 since 2023. So over a little over two and a half, like a little over 2 years now. And I don't plan on leaving until, I get to do the change I want to make. So that's kind of the connection of all of them.
What an amazing story. Because yeah, it's not, it didn't just start off as a cafe. It seems like it was just really, yeah, just like this grassroots nonprofit. We want, we have these values, we have the community in mind, and then you find we need a space. And then the space comes afterwards. And so I can totally tell by just like the bio and the website that those values and that initial approach have been, I guess, entrenched into that space. And that's why it's so special. And then the youth who are like doing all the videos. As you described it was exactly like how I envisioned it, because I've, of course, never been there. And it just seems like your role, like, yeah, like you just landed the right role for not just the cafe and you, but just that your intersection of values. Yeah, I'm so excited and glad for you and the cafe. So exciting. Tell us where Studio 89 is going in the future, or what you have planned.
So actually, it's been really hectic these days because we're hosting our first ever vegan art show on Saturday, from 6 to 10 p.m. And we have these vegan artists who went to an animal sanctuary in the summer, and they got together and they were like, oh, we do different mediums of art and we want to combine them and bring awareness on, like, animals, because in today's world a lot of people have detached from their brains, or what they see in the grocery store are actual living beings. And so we're kind of trying to bring that awareness through art. So we have artists who are doing like sound. So like they've created sounds of the different animals that they saw at the sanctuary. And then we have some who are doing photography and digital art and really just showcasing these magnificent beings to the community. And then also we have like a special menu that we've done, which I was very excited to create with this local vegan food artist, I call her. And her company's name is Savor Living, and she creates the most nutritious but also really fun meals that non-vegans would also love. So we have that on Saturday, and that's super exciting because it's the most amount of people we've had in the space in a really long time, because a lot changed after the pandemic. So we're finally getting our groove back. So that's exciting. And then what we're hoping for Studio 89 to grow into is essentially an incubation hub where we have youth groups, grassroots organizations, cultural groups come in, and we would kind of guide them to keep growing with all the knowledge that we have from the over 11 years of being a physical space. And so it'll still be the space and it'll still be the social enterprise cafe, but we hope to expand in a way where there's a whole other section solely for development of social impact through other organizations, and that continuation of our youth leadership program as well, but at a larger capacity, because currently, as a small nonprofit, we do rely heavily on grants as well. So that is also majority of my day is grant writing. So it's a mix of everything. And as a nonprofit, we wear lots of hats. So I would like to wear a few less hats and give that opportunity to more youth and to be able to guide them as well. But yeah, essentially it's expansion. We just want to continue to expand. We want to be able to assist more community members with their programs because what we do offer are free community programs from tackling senior isolation to anti-racism and anti-discrimination workshops to climate action initiatives as well, which we have a volunteer stream part of our organization called the Social Impact Committee, and they're constantly doing different things like this. This summer, they did the Patio Sprouts program, where we created a vertical agricultural initiative, like a garden, where a community was able to get herbs and vegetables completely free. And all they had to do was take care of the garden, essentially. We're trying to show that you can't just take, you have to give back and then you get to receive. So we're trying to always like connect people back to nature and back to the roots of it all. But I kind of just spiraled right now. But basically, essentially, it's expansion. Everything we do, we want to do more, we want to do bigger, we want to be able to help people and essentially just build up on that social impact, that civic engagement, that community engagement, continue to empower youth, but at a larger capacity. And with that, that's a we work on every single day through grants, through talking to our MPs, MPPs, our community members who are willing to collaborate. We have lots of amazing community partners who are consistently rooting for us on our behalf to other people. So hopefully we can just continue spreading that message. That what we do is we're just trying to change the world, through the future generations. And hopefully we can continue to do that for many years to come.
Amazing. So yeah, if anyone's listening, you heard that word expansion, and you think you could provide some support, whether it's financial or otherwise, yeah, that's your call. Um, so next, let's talk about trends or transformations. So this could be on the cafe and the food side, or on the community engagement side. But just tell us some changes, I suppose, that you're seeing in the industry that you're in.
Yeah, so one thing I've noticed, so a lot of the change that I see, because most of my day is spent looking at grants. So one of the changes I've seen is how the government has kind of shifted their view of where they want to spend their money. So, post-pandemic, the massive shift we saw was more funding towards tackling senior isolation. So that is one of the reasons we do a lot of our Senior and Youth Connect programs, where we bridge that intergenerational gap between seniors and youth. So at one point we have the youth, focusing on leadership, and then the storytelling side from the seniors. And that really impacts the youth because I have seen a massive change from youth going in on day one to how they come out on the end of the program. And you see that like that empathy building that we're really always focusing on at Studio 89 is a trend. Like if you give responsibility to a youth, you might think, no, youth these days are always staring at their phones, they can't really do much. No, if you give them that responsibility, they feel empowered. They feel that they can make a change. You just have to have a bit of faith in them. And that is a massive trend that we continue to see part of our programs, that if you provide them just a little platform, they will take it and they will try to make some sort of change. You just have to empower them and show them that you have faith in them and you have trust in the change that they can do. Another thing that I've also seen is that there are less funding for actual climate action initiatives. It's at a much lower scale than I would have liked to see. So that is a trend that's kind of been trending in the opposite of where I would like to see it go, almost like from when I first started to where I am now. There's less funding on that for sure. So that would be great. And then, anyways, it's one thing I learned is that charities have more fundraising opportunities than nonprofits, which is a trend that's been continuing. So I would also like that to change because. Nonprofits need money also. So that'd be cool. And then food-wise, the trends are always changing and I can't keep up. So I try to stick with one flavor profile that I see trending and then stick with that forever because I don't want one of the things we really focus on in our cafe space is we don't want food waste, right? So the thing with trends when it comes to the food industry is it eventually leads to food waste because there's like no one wants this anymore because the trend is over. That's not sustainable. So it's better to have really good, nutritious, high quality food that is can leave its imprint past the trending stage. Because when we come to the food industry aspect and food systems in general, we have to be very careful how we utilize it because it is the food systems on and how it constantly changes, which impacts animal welfare as well as environmental injustices. So food systems is something that's not talked about enough as well.
Wow, you touched on so much there. I'm already
Sorry.
loving this convo. So there's that generational gap that you're filling. You talked about the need for more funding with climate change. Of course, education, everybody could use that, but yeah, interesting to see that governments are not yeah, putting their money, I guess, where their talk is. And then yeah, food waste and food trends and yeah, and just building a sustainable food system. That is so much
Yeah.
more important than monitoring food trends. So
Yeah.
yeah, when like do you have a blog or podcast? Because we could you I know you could I could tell you could go on and on about all
I
this.
know, I'm so sorry. When I think of one thing, it kind of jumps to the next.
No, no, this is great. Like this is what we love. Just we don't know where this conversation is going. So yeah. So I know Studio 89 is already a nonprofit and social enterprise. Um, so whether you want to speak on that front or your own personal give back initiatives, yeah, just tell us more about how you personally or how Studio 89 gives back.
Yeah, so kind of how I give back is through Studio 89 because my life is kind of Studio 89 and I'm there. I live very close, so I'm there all the time. But kind of how Studio 89 gives back is, we have this promise to focus on youth leadership, right? So we give back through, we partner with communities like Community Living Mississauga, which are youth who are facing barriers. And so we welcome youth of all abilities. It doesn't matter what you're capable of or not. We will find something for you to do at Studio. So we are always kind of rooting for the underdog, as they say, like in those terms. But basically, we everything we do is for the community. Like we're a nonprofit, right? We don't make money per se. The money that we bring in is to create free programs. That's why we say, like, literally, I've engraved it in every youth volunteer's head. Every donation, every purchase is a donation to free community programs. And I make sure they repeat it, so they know. So these free community programs is giving back to the community on a daily. We are a free community space. So nonprofit organizations, grassroots groups, mama groups, mommy groups after school, they want a space to go. We are a free community space. So we are trying to bring that availability, that accessibility, that inclusivity to all community members, to marginalized groups, to the LGBTQ plus communities, to everyone, right? We are a safe, inclusive space, and that is how we hope we always touch individuals' lives, whether they're having a rough day or not. You will see every youth volunteer and youth staff try to have a conversation with the community just because social isolation is such a big thing these days that we don't want anyone to feel alone when they come into our space. We want them to feel like family. And a lot of our staff, our youth staff, also have become like best friends with community members because they are regulars. They come in every day, they do their work, they don't have to stress about being kicked out because they know we want to be that accessible space for all. And that's hopefully we can continue doing with the support of the community because, it is rough times we're in today. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And yeah, a lot of our guests have talked about giving back with time and volunteering. And so I love that. Yeah, I don't think there's anything better if you can't donate money, then yeah, just that exchange of time is so special for the person that's receiving and then for you also who's giving. So love that. So next question is what books, podcasts, apps, or other types of resources would you recommend to other entrepreneurs or people who might have a role like yours?
So I like to listen to a lot of, I'll actually show you. So my favorite book actually that really got me into like learning more about this, I actually brought it out because I thought it'd be cool to show. But it's called oh wait, I don't know if you can see it. The Carbon Footprint of Everything. And it's by Mike Berners-Lee. I actually read this in my second year university, and that's what made me switch from being a maths major to geography was this book. And this is the book that kind of like, even when I'm like training my students or like trying to come up with creative ideas to like inspire them to be vegan, I always read this book and I always recommend it to others. I really like it. And then the second book I really recommend, which Zara actually gave me to read one day, and now I just use it like for my own mind for like feeling empowered to create change in this world. It's called Taking on the System by Marcos Molitas Zuniga, but it kind of looks like, how do I get this? I'm sorry. I'm not very good with technology. I don't know. Can you see it?
Yeah,
Kind of.
it's blurring right where the cover is. Can you just say the title one more time so that yeah,
Taking on the System, Rules for
perfect.
Radical Change in a Digital Era. And why I really think this is a really good book to read, especially for like being part of an organization such as Studio.89 or any sort of organization that is trying to implement change, is a lot of what we do in today's world. Like even for us as an organization, we use a lot of digital media. For storytelling to our funders, to our community members, we use social media, we use the digital crafts of different day-to-day items. And so you're learning how to essentially maneuver the word choices, the SEOs, different things that you use, but to hit a larger community who aren't necessarily aware of impact being made in smaller communities. And I think that's so important because even if you're like, for example, the little guy can give a bigger guy a small inkling of an idea. So if they're doing something wrong, they might be inspired to make that shift. And that's what we're trying to do with the world, right? Like if you're gonna not listen to the little person, at least get some ideas to maybe change your path slightly. Because if everyone changes their path slightly, it'll eventually lead to everyone's same path of, impact and change and empowering everyone. So hopefully these two books are good. I recommend.
Great, thank you for that. So before I hit our or move to our second to last question here, just a reminder for any folks who are here with us live to use the chat if you do have a question for Ariana. I think we will be able to fold in one or two. Um, so who or what inspires you? We've heard a lot about this already, but yeah, if you want to answer that maybe more directly.
Yeah, so I have a few people who inspire me. One of the like m main people who inspire me, I say, are the individuals that I see in my hometown, like all those women. They're so hardworking, and so when I see them, they kind of, as individuals, inspire me to like create change in this side of the world. So eventually, everything I learn in the West, I can apply back home and empower like the marginalized, even though everyone, Pakistan is a marginalized country, but kind of like create that change back home. So they inspire me every day. Every single woman who is working for their households, who are, underpaid or overworked, like I'm always doing all of this for them. But then in a career aspect, I wouldn't say I technically have a career. It's more of a lifestyle. Is Zara, who is the founder of the organization. what has inspired me about her is even if I like if she sees anything wrong, she won't like attack anyone, you know? She almost like I like to say kills them with kindness, you know? She uses empathy, compassion. She tries to understand where they're coming from. And that's kind of how I have kind of taken on this role as like, you know, the official head of Studio 89 in that end. I try to build that empathy in every decision, every action, every conversation that I have, even if someone is saying something negative about the organization or about any of the values that we have. Like sometimes people will be like, oh, but why are you vegan? Like everyone who comes here is not vegan. Instead of like attacking well as like, oh, you don't need to be here, instead we use it as an opportunity to explain why get them to explain why they have that um, mindset, and maybe how we can educate them through compassion and empathy and kind of seeing where their journey lies, you know? And that's something I've seen in Zara, that like no matter how much someone pokes and prods her, she will never raise her voice. She will literally be so kind to them that they change their mind automatically. And you know, that's just something I feel like is not done enough. Like empathy is not learned as much anymore in today's world. And so that is something that is just like everything she says, I'm just like, oh yeah, I feel it. I feel the goosebumps because it's just always so inspiring. So she is one of my biggest inspirations when it comes to, you know, the nonprofit world, being a Muslim because she's also a Muslim, being from Pakistan because she's also being from Pakistan, and she's a vegan. So I just always feel like a mini her, you know. I hope to be something like her when I get older and do the kind of impact she does on a daily. So hopefully, fingers crossed.
Amazing. Yeah, it seems like you're following in her footsteps. And I love your answer too. It really speaks to the local and global aspect of what inspires you. So locally, it's, the people who surround you and the leaders that you're following. And then globally, it's the women back home. So I love that. So coming to our last big question here, what advice do you have for other business owners, entrepreneurs, or people who might be in a role like yours?
Yeah, so this advice is, I feel, needs to be said because what I've noticed in whether it's locally or globally, because I have been in touch with lots of other organizations from the West and the East and different countries around the world. And I feel like pressure is such a big thing in today's world, where if you are firm in your values and your beliefs of where you want your organization to go, don't change it because someone else thinks that this will be more attractive to like a funder even, you know? Always stay true to your roots and to your belief systems, because I feel like the second you start changing even the smallest things because other people want to change, you're going to go completely off track to where you want your organization or where you wanted your organization to go initially, right? The reason why nonprofits have that mission statement and that like vision statement is so you can stay on track to what your mission and vision is of your nonprofit organization. So that's why I feel like when you work in the nonprofit world or any type of company, even where you are very passionate and you know your love roots from your heart of where you want that company to go, don't change that for anyone, because the second you do that, not only will you be changing a bit of who you are in not the path you want to go, but the whole dynamic of your organization. And when you change that dynamic, don't forget you're also changing the community members who've been supporting that vision and that mission, right? So it's not just a one person change, then it's a whole community change. And so if you want to find and head into that direction of social impact, or of, for example, if you work for a corporation or a company, of a certain change in the community, you have to stay firm in your beliefs. Now, if your beliefs are a bit past and outdated and not towards that equitable world concept, then I definitely think you should change your path then only. But always be careful with who's whispering in your ear. And that's in any, if you're a operations manager, if you are an employee for a company, always stay true to what your values are. Because if you don't, we're not living to work, you know, is that correct? Did I say that correctly? Yeah, we're not living to work. I like to say we're living to change, right? We're living to grow. We're trying to get everyone to grow together, and everyone's at their own speed and their own pace. And so just, stick with your heart because your heart can't go wrong. So that's what I believe.
Oh, that was so great. So many gems in there, but what resonates for me personally, at least, is a lot of us here in our group and the people that we talk to, they start these businesses because we're vegan and we want to make the world a better place. And it's so important that we keep that essence of that mission true as our business changes because it ultimately will. There is no linear career or business path. And then it's like there's all these new tools flying at us, whether it's AI or like the next digital tool. And it's like, should I be using this? And it's like, yeah, but if you keep that mission as your North Star, whether you choose to, yeah, take up that new tool or not, I think that's so important to keep that focus and know that you are going to change, but you can do it in that very intentional way. Again, that's my interpretation, but but I loved what you said. That could have been like just a whole keynote speech on its own. So before we let you go, Ariana, are there any other news or announcements that you want to share with us? You did mention that art event that's coming up on Saturday, so I'll remind you to, if there is a link for that, to put that in the chat after our conversation here, so we can make sure that that's in the description and sent out to our members. But yeah, any other comments that you want to leave us
So
with?
I would say that, whoever is watching and the lovely people who are here today, you should definitely subscribe to our newsletter, our Studio 89 newsletter, and that you can find on our website at www.studio89.com, no, .org. I will send the link in the thing. I forget. But basically, with our newsletter, you'll not only be able to keep in touch with the programs, the free programs we're doing for the community, all the stats, all the data with that, and beautiful pictures that our youth volunteers take, but as well as upcoming events. And all of our events, we do monthly art events, but all the art is with upcycled materials from the cafe. So we're always focusing on sustainability there. And a lot of them are run by co-op students most of the time as well. So, you're also supporting the youth as well. But yeah, so our newsletter would be the best bet, and our Instagram as well, which is studio with three O's 89. And so I'm always doing storytelling on that social media platform as well. So you can always kind of see the different vegan events we have going and different impactful things we try to do in the community. And yeah, other than that, that's all I can think of at the moment.
Perfect. Yeah, you did my work for me. We usually just end off with the website and Instagram. So again, that's studio89.org and then Studio 89 with three O's on Instagram. So Studio 89 on Instagram. So this has been a fab conversation with Aryanna Alikhan. I've really enjoyed this, and I know everybody who watches the replay is going to as well. So thank you so much for your time, Ariana, and for everybody listening and watching. We'll catch you next time. Bye.